And let's move on now to the America's game, the 9:25 kickoff on Sunday night, the 4:25 Eastern, the $500 million quarterback game, where on one side, Deshaun Watson, plenty to talk about there with the Cleveland Browns. But let's start off with the Dallas Cowboys, 33-17 winners in this game. And just before kickoff, we get the announcement that Dak Prescott has become the first ever $60 million a year quarterback. A 4-year, $240 million extension, a $231 million of which is guaranteed, which from what I understand is essentially him saying, I want $1 million more than Deshaun Watson got in his deal. Like pettiness that I can absolutely appreciate and love. The question mark is, Phoebe, is Dak Prescott worth that deal?
I think he came out and showed that he was. And I also love that the Cowboys always know how to make it about them. Yeah. I mean, literally right before kickoff, I think all of us were like, we're changing the script of everything we're doing. It is all about Dak and the Cowboys. But he came out there and he was, again, so efficient. Last year, he was an MVP candidate in terms of his playing. Now, I think they still have a lot more to work on. I think they had some ups and downs, as most teams do. But his connection with CeeDee Lamb, I mean, that is unbelievable. And he can do a great job. He literally was, I just love the way that he operated throughout that game, picking apart that Browns defense throughout.
All right. Can I get on this?
Yeah.
Can I have a say?
Yeah, please.
I mean, it's a lot of money, but
no, he is not worth. Like, are you kidding me? No, he is not worth it. But they had to pay him, and that is the Cowboys' fault. That is Jerry Jones's fault. They backed themselves so far into a corner. Mm-hmm. He had maximum leverage. They had no other. What are you gonna? You're gonna bring back Roger Staubach or something? No, they have no other option. They finally went after all the months of talking. They finally went all in. Jerry Jones talked about that for months, but they finally went all in, but they had no other choice. He is not worth it at all. He's 2-5 in the playoffs. You can say all these great things about the Cowboys, and he looked good, and he has a great connection with CeeDee Lamb until the playoffs, until it actually matters. Patrick Mahomes is worth it. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow might be worth it. Trevor Lawrence isn't worth it, but you have to pay your guys. The problem for the Cowboys is it's Super Bowl or bust. And if they don't win a Super Bowl and you're paying Dak Prescott $60 million a year and he's 31 and he's injury prone and all these issues, no, he is not worth it right now. And the only way he is worth it is if he wins the Super Bowl, and they're not winning the Super Bowl.
But they don't have enough people around them to win a Super Bowl.
That's the problem, because they have to pay their stars this much money, and Jerry Jones screwed up their salary cap this bad. He wants to be the president, the general manager, the owner, run it all, but he doesn't really know what he's doing. He needs an expert running the cap, and to your point, they don't have enough talent around them to beat the 49ers, to beat the Chiefs. So, no, I don't believe in it at all.
Listen, if I am a billionaire who owns a franchise worth $7.6 billion, I'm going to run it how I want as well, to be frank. Jerry Jones has done a dreadful job. I think we can all acknowledge that over the last 10 years. And they have had, 20 years, really, they've had so many opportunities to build a great team. They have had quarterbacks. And I'm less of the belief Dak Prescott doesn't deserve it, because for me, yes, I think you always pay your guy. Quarterbacks are always going to reset the market. It's going to be astonishing when Brock Purdy gets $55 million a year next year for a guy who was drafted in the very last pick of the draft, right? That was always going to happen. I think Dak Prescott is one of the best processors in football. When you look at what he does before the ball is snapped, the way he can read a defense, I'm talking Peyton Manning levels of intelligence.
He's a really good quarterback.
But he's never been given the opportunity to
He won the leverage battle, okay?
He's a really, his numbers are incredible. He's a really good quarterback. He can win you 12 games or 13 games. Is he going to win the Super Bowl?
No.
But Jerry Jones puts this contract together where they essentially agree there's a no tag clause, so they can't put the franchise tag on him. There's a no trade clause, so they can't trade him unless he agrees to where he's going to be traded to. And so essentially, we were going to have a situation where, for the first time in, from what my memory, 10 plus years, a truly elite quarterback was about to hit the proper open market. There's an argument, though, that on the other side of the ball, there's a guy who did something similar a few years ago. Was he truly elite? Was it truly the open market? I don't know. But essentially, the Houston Texans said, we're open for business for Deshaun Watson. The Cleveland Browns sold their collective soul.
Sold their soul.
To go and get a guy who had 24 different accusations, 24 different women accuse him of sexual assault. And then overnight, we hear that another lawsuit has been brought against this man, another civil case lawsuit, but he's going to be going through another whole legal situation. And yet the Cleveland Browns gave up 3 first-round picks, $230 million fully guaranteed to make him the highest-paid quarterback at the time in NFL history. Of course, now he's not even top 10, but even so, the point stands. They've got this huge albatross hanging around their neck as an organisation. And I tell you, I have always had a soft spot for the Cleveland Browns. Since they moved in 1999, they only had 3 winning seasons. They went to 17 years without going to the playoffs, but their fans were always incredible. Despite all the factory of sadness stuff, they always turned up, they always made noise, and they were always great. The 180 that the Haslams have made me do on this organisation now, because Deshaun Watson is there, where I'm actually going, like, I think it might be the worst trade in history. Like, Russell Wilson's in the conversation, but this Deshaun Watson trade, he was terrible on Sunday.
We've written it at talkSPORT. It is talkSPORT.com. It is the worst trade in NFL history right now. Now, it could change if he starts being good again. We could talk about the off-the-field stuff, which is very, very serious, and I covered this for years in Houston, and I covered everything for Deshaun Watson in Houston. So I was there on the field when he stopped playing for the Houston Texans, and when he went from being the hero of Houston to getting kicked out of Houston, and fans didn't want anything to do with this guy. The same thing has happened in Cleveland. He's getting booed now, but the biggest problem for him, outside of all the very, very serious off the field, he's not good anymore. No. It looks like the Browns don't want to play for him. He looks confused. He struggles to make reads. You talked about progressions with Dak Prescott. Deshaun Watson isn't making those progressions. His throws are just, going into the ground. That's how bad he's throwing. He's not even completing it to receivers. He's not even, would Deshaun Watson be starting on most teams right now? No. After week 1, he would be benched. It looks like the worst trade in history, but the biggest thing is he has lost the fans. He's lost the fan base there. I don't feel like Cleveland Browns fans even want him in the stadium anymore.
I don't think that his own players want to play for him. Look at the body language of those guys when they come back into the huddle. Amari Cooper is always going to kind of look disinterested, but look at the rest of them. Look at the offensive line. A very interesting clip was pulled up of Joel Bitonio on the floor, and Deshaun Watson went to help him up, and he wouldn't let him.
Waved his hand away.
Literally. And Joel is one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my life. But that's a pure sign. Yeah. And that's one of the conversations, because we talk so much about the fan base and what people think of them. But actually, what does it mean to the people in the building? Because remember last year, they had Joe Flacco in there, and they were playing for him. They loved, Njoku looked slow. He didn't look like himself. Nobody looked like they were enjoying.
And they have a great defense, right? Yeah. Kevin Stefanski wins Coach of the Year last year, partly because of Joe Flacco. 100%. That is a good enough team. They should be Super Bowl contenders. Yeah. But I felt like the second they went after that hard for Deshaun Watson and they reset. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason Jerry Jones had to give that much money to Dak Prescott is because the Browns screwed it up so much with Deshaun Watson and completely reset and screwed up the quarterback market. Once the Browns made that trade, it again for them was Super Bowl or bust. But the problem was he had so much baggage that if it goes bad and it's gone horribly, you're not just going to have your players turn on you. You're going to have the fans turn on you, the organization turn on you. He's got a couple weeks to clean this up, or he's going to be gone.
I don't know how he can clean it up, though, because his accuracy, he's throwing balls to guys in the field and at their feet, and he has time. He's not being crunched. I saw maybe one move that looked like Deshaun Watson.
And doesn't it look like he's lost his confidence? Like, he had so 100%. Much swagger in Houston. He just had this Clemson national champion, that the spin out he had against Buffalo in the playoffs. He's lost all that.
There was a play in the fourth quarter where the pocket broke down, he rolled out, he could have run for a first down, and 2 Cowboys defenders start coming towards him, and he just darted out of bounds. Yeah. On a third, I think it was on a third and 7. That is not the Deshaun Watson of the early days of his career, who would have fought tooth and nail to get that first down. And honestly, it's going to cost them, if they were to move on from his contract, the cap hit the next 2 years beyond this is $64 million a year. It's over a quarter of the cap, even with the new raised cap levels. I'm still taking that hit if I'm the Cleveland Browns. Moving on. Jameis Winston can start for us for the next 2 years, as far as I'm concerned. It'll be a lot more fun, and at least there'll be better vibes in the building if they do that.
We're here for vibes. Right.